in us
It's the
now.
opposite.
We need to absorb the menace that we
She's
are
not a
on.
sweet summer child. Was she
I
a terrible
have.
autumn lady? Sure, the terrible autumn lady. She's not here.
We need some
She's
hell
off
demons
doing
to
something
possess
menacing,
us.
I'm sure. Probably getting more to her collection of lovers. Yeah.
Oh,
She's up to.
I love the
glorious.
speculation on our missing person. Incredible.
I mean, sure, Abigail's getting up to something.
I miss her already.
I know.
I know, we all
It's going to
do.
be insulting to all
Damien
of us.
misses her already.
Yes, he
You're
does.
stalling on Damien the dog.
I mean, Abigail, I can't say that Abigail is like 90% of Damien's impulse control, because I'm not actually sure if she makes it better or worse, but either
Always
way,
been
her not being
10%.
here has an effect.
I mean, he can't eat her, so I'm sure that means it's better. Though I feel like Julia would say that's worse because she's been hoping for some crunching.
That's very fair. Maybe there
Maybe
will
we'll
be.
get some. Yeah, there's a crunch in your memory. Yeah, Julia. Point it out. Julia did send me many articles about San Francisco.
I thought you were going to say
I
about
thought you were gonna say,
biting.
or cannibalism.
No, I think
Brilliant.
Julia's like deep in some Atlantean.
Well, yeah, they
citizen
tried to
research.
silence her, so that
That's
just
true.
means she's on the right track.
No, hey,
Incredible.
This is the energy that we're having tonight. This is what happens when Will is gone and we are left to our own devices. So hi, everyone. We are live from the apocalypse. We are a not-for-profit TTRPG studio that raises money for aid organizations and progressive causes. And this is a season of Secrets and Shadows. This is our Regency-flavored Monsterhearts game, and in just a few moments, I will allow the lovely cast to introduce themselves and remind us of who they are playing. Before we do that, though, it is important that I give you a reminder of what we do here, which is raise money. And we are currently raising money for Rainbow Railroad. We just finished up raising money for the First Nations Development Institute. Now we are raising money for Rainbow Railroad, and this is a very important time to be supporting them. They are an organization that helps LGBT plus people get to safe locations when they are in danger. And unfortunately, that is something that is increasingly necessary these days. So if you are able, we ask that any money that you would have given us through subscriptions or bits, that instead you donate directly to them. The really wonderful thing is now at this time, you can't not see the button. You don't have to type !donate into the chat anymore. The donation button is the first thing you will see on our page. And so if you are able, please put some money their way. It will not offer any advantages to the players, but we will all be very appreciative. And who knows, if we get enough donations, maybe I will do something chaotic with that. It'll be fun.
Can we get like more
regardless.
Rammies per donation?
If you would like that, Raph, I will support more Rammies per donation. Yes.
Yay!
Like a 1 Rammy per $10 metric here.
Exactly. 100%. We don't have a counter, but that's fine. I'll remember. And I can promise you, I'll remember. So yes, if you do that, the McElroy brothers will yell at us, really me. I am running tech tonight, so I will be the person who gets to be distracted. So if I am at any point doing a monologue, that is a great time to donate so that I can be thrown completely off my game and have to figure out where I was in my script and storyline. You can subscribe. We can't stop you. We have made it very hard for you to figure out how to. But if you find the subscribe button, just know you are making a choice there. And that choice is that for every month you are subscribed, beloved Dimension 20 Dungeon Master Brennan Lee Mulligan will kill one dog. There have been streams where there have been 30 plus dogs, and that is tragic. And as the cast loves to continue to remind us on every stream, the more we do that, the more of a chance there is that one of those dogs is our beloved werewolf friend Fitz from Table 2. So, you don't want that to happen. That would be really unfortunate, and we want to spare him. So maybe choose to donate instead of subscribe. I think that's all of the housekeeping that I have. And so with that, I am going to let our 3 cast members introduce themselves. We will all acknowledge that for tonight, we are tragically missing Will, and so Abigail will not be with our group as they get up to whatever they're going to get up to tonight. I think it should be interesting. And so with that, Steph, would you like to introduce yourself and remind us of a few details about where Rhiannon is at as we head into tonight's story?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Stephanie. You can find me at SpawnRights on Twitter or under the handle Lavenza in the Live from the Apocalypse Discord. I'll be playing Rhiannon Carewood tonight from the Witch Playbook, and this will be the third episode where she is still her darkest self. So are they going to come out of it? Who knows? This is a problem for future Rhiannon, not present Rhiannon. So, maybe we'll get Rammies by the end of the season.
We might. We have this episode and then one more episode left, one finale for this season. But we'll talk more about that later. All of us, let us just say hello to Will and that he is missed. But it's going to get interesting when Abigail returns. And so with that, JT.
What's up? I'm JT. I miss Will. You can find me. You can find me at WeebJeet on Twitter. Tonight I'm playing Lady Octavia Frostman of the Winter Court, and she's having a bad time. Terrible, awful time. Maybe is a traitor to her people, but who knows? Who knows?
Maybe we'll find out. And last but certainly not least, Raph.
Hello, I'm Raph. I will be playing Carmen. I'm blanked out on the name for a second. I'll be playing Carmen Deloso this evening, who uses the Ghoul playbook, and also as a brother inside of him, telling him to do bad stuff for survival. It's not bad. It's fine. It's genuinely okay, actually, half the time. Most of the time. There's a probability there. Anyway, we were nice. We were told some certain things were gonna happen. Oh wait, that's not what I was gonna share. I was gonna share. Sorry, I don't know what happened as soon as the camera went off. Okay, Carmen's having a great time, is what I'll say. A box was found with some of his belongings. He is enraptured with a certain lady. Everything's kind of going up Carmen, you know what I mean? Nothing's gonna go wrong. Actually, we were greenlit to do even more good stuff, so that's all I'll say.
I love that. Incredible. I have to make myself big, don't I?
Sorry.
You do.
Sorry. Oh, I'm not
Just
sorry.
not going to
I'm not
talk.
sorry.
You know what? This is...
Yeah.
It's been 5 days of streams. It's going to be an interesting night.
I love it. JD's on the brink. This is great.
We're gonna have a great time tonight.
This is why I've
Incredible.
greenlit the horrors that I've greenlit. So,
No regrets.
no regrets. I am
Absolutely
JD. I am the storyteller. That is all we need to go into about me for right now, but I'm sure before this stream ends, I will be forced to list off all of the other streams that I will be a part of over the next week. For the record, we are at 5 out of 14. I realized I miscounted when I posted 13. It's 13 days, but it's 14 streams.
This
It's
is
fine.
massive news.
It is
Oh
totally
my
fine.
You need to sleep
God.
for a week.
I sleep a normal amount. And with that, we are going to jump in. All right. So it has been an increasingly tense time in London. Over the past week, since the arrest of Colonel Horatia de Villiers, many things have happened in rapid succession. For the three of you, there have been some different challenges each one of you has encountered. And where we are going to start tonight is on a road at night. It is unusually silent. Normally, there would be all of the sounds that come along with the evening. The sound of different insects chirping, of nighttime birds calling to one another, of other animals moving through the underbrush. But right now, everything is silent. And we see a figure moving down this road. And I am curious, Rhiannon, how did you get to Astrid Primmer's home to retrieve the box that they had left for you?
Yeah. Oh God, I didn't realize we'd be starting there. Whoo! Yeah. So she got the letter from Astrid letting her know where the drop point was, essentially, and the contents. So she stayed up late, pretended to go to bed, and kind of like with the situation where Fitz's after party, she climbed down the trellis from her balcony into the backyard and saddled up a horse because I'm guessing they're not close together given that her dad is a duke and the Primers are not that high up in society, so they probably don't live in the same neighborhood. So she stole out in the night, and Astrid had indicated she'd be leaving it in a remote area of the grounds in their back garden. And Rhiannon, with some help with some plants if need be, basically kind of climbed over the wall. And she was in riding gear to kind of make it a little more manageable, and boots, and just kind of crept through the foliage until she got the box, and then would have attempted to make her way back that way.
Nothing got in your way
Mm-hmm.
at all. The box was where Astrid said it would be, and you were able to make that journey back to where you had left your horse very easily.
Say that carrying the box did fill them with a sense of just a lot of sorrow because with her spell, she and Carmen had witnessed the attack and murders of the Delosa brothers. Carmen basically reliving it. But also there's just this boiling rage in her that she's just using that to just be like, focus on getting this back and hidden until we can get to Carmen.
And with that, Rhiannon, when you pick up the box, it isn't actually until you get over the wall. It almost feels like everything was muffled or muted when you were there. Like something about Astrid had protected or calmed the box and what is contained inside.
Astrid just has that effect. They're very soothing, very sweet.
But once you made it over the wall and were no longer really within the proper bounds of the Primer estate as it is, you started to hear a whispering from the box.
Could I make out what they were saying?
No.
That's fine.
No, it was too muffled for that, but it was enough to be distracting.
Oh. Okay.
Enough that you couldn't really avoid is the word I'm looking for. Avoid the sound. And even as you got settled and started to make your way down the road, the whispering remained. And everything else around you remained silent. It was almost like the world was holding its breath.
Yeah, given that Rhiannon's witch powers come from nature, when nature gets silent, that's a sign that shit's about to go down. So they were very on edge during this ride. They kind of have the box wrapped up in like their cloak in their lap on the saddle. Not riding side saddle. We're not doing that polite shit tonight. This is subterfuge. We're riding like full on gentleman's position, just kind of kicking up the pace of the horse, just like, let's go a little bit quicker.
And your horse responds easily. There is no hesitation. And it does strike you, because you are very connected with nature, that despite the fact that you're hearing the whispering, your horse does not look uneasy.
Something. Rhiannon's just gonna kind of clutch the box a little tighter in her one arm and just be like, gonna get back to your brother. It's gonna be fine. Just no one else is going to get you.
That does not quiet it. It does not seem to cause any negative reaction, but it continues to whisper. And even as you move into the city itself, sound comes back. I mean, it has to. There are so many people living in this space that there is no way it could be just still and silent. Yet you, with your connection with nature, notice that you're still not hearing the other sounds that you would be expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, as Rhiannon approaches their home, what their thoughts are on what they will do with the box when they bring it inside.
Well, she doesn't want her father to find it. She doesn't really want anyone to find it. So her plan was to, size wise, is it like she could carry it? Like, if it couldn't fit in a fairly sizable hat box, she was gonna at least try to use some cloth and ribbon to disguise it as a hat box and store it in her closet, so that way it was kind of hiding in plain sight. Though the whispering is giving her a little concern, but her parents don't usually come in her room, so. And since she's imagining probably not going to be any events in the next few days, given the whole revelations with Horatia and the Connollys, she's hoping she can just kind of stay put with the box in her room and not go anywhere and research on how to fix this mess. See if she can unfuck this situation.
And
my house is haunted now. Cool. Awesome.
Out of curiosity,
yeah.
How are you getting back inside?
The box does make it harder to climb a trellis, but not impossible. If there's some rope in the stable that she could borrow, I'm not looking at the chat. I'm just not gonna derail myself right now. I'll do that later. She's gonna try to see if she can tie it up and then kind of tie it up in rope and then tie the rope to like her around her waist, if that makes sense. And I don't know if there's anything you want me to roll for that.
I do. I want
Awesome.
you to roll to keep your cool.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That's my worst stat. We're doing great. No, it's fine. It's fine. Bonum est. It's so fine. That is what is that? Wait, no. That's only a 7.
Okay. I mean, that's not a failure, so that is good. So, with that, Rhiannon, I mean, you have 2 choices. You can try to move through the house, which does increase the chances that you might run into one or both of your parents, or a servant might see you.
This late at night with my parents?
You raise a good point. That might be, in that way, a safer option. You could climb, but you know that this could be a precarious journey up.
And, being born rich, she's not really had to do much hard labor. So, the box might complicate climbing the trellis.
It's a lot easier to climb down than it is to climb back up.
Yep. She wants to climb up. It's more direct.
Okay.
Less risky in that regard. You want me to roll again?
No, I gave you the warnings, and
did I? How much harm am I taking from falling on my ass off a trellis?
It isn't actually that you fall. You are able to make your way up to your window without falling.
Okay.
But there is a moment where you slip, and the trellis beneath you snaps, and you see several pieces fall down into the yard.
Okay. I'm guessing the pieces that broke prevent me from climbing back down to pick them up.
They do.
Awesome.
And as you reach your window, you do hear one of the doors open. It sounds like somebody heard the noise and has stepped out to check things out because, well, there have been murders recently. And so you make your way back to your room. You store the box as you plan to store it. And the rest of the night passes quietly and uneventfully. You write a letter to Carmen. And I wonder, where do we find Carmen after he receives that letter?
After he receives the letter?
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Carmen has been like basically locked up in his house. Occasionally he like the only reason he leaves is to do his like daily walk to the graveyard to kind of like clean up the grave and you know, talk to Damien in a way. It makes I don't know, it makes sense in his head. But I think one day after a trip to the graveyard, he goes back to his room and he finds Win just like tapping on his window. And so they open it and they read the letter. I don't know if you want me to read it now or if you want me to hold off.
I will have you read it in a moment.
Okay.
I am curious when you say that you are talking with Damien.
Mhm.
Is it actually talking with Damien, or has it been more the kind of talking with Damien that people do at a graveside, where they don't necessarily expect an immediate response?
I think it's been a bit of both. Mostly the former, though. Actually talking to Damien. I think with everything they have learned, and the things that they had seen, uh, especially with Damien this season cropping up a little bit more than he usually would, the emotions that Carmen is feeling and that Damien is feeling are so much more intense and raw. So I feel like it's so much easier for Damien to come out. I I feel like they've almost gotten into this rhythm where they've never really been able to literally talk to each other before until now because they're both just full of like rage and sadness and like feelings of betrayal and all of this and mixed in with like everything going on with Rhiannon for Carmen, like it's just like all emotions at 10. um so I think he goes to the grave out of almost routine. It's almost like a comfort place for him, um because it's still weird to speak out loud and have someone reply to you that isn't you in your voice. um so going to the grave is almost like a way to pretend that he's speaking to Damien instead of like this other thing that is happening.
That makes perfect sense. And hearing you talk about those emotions, hearing you talk about the anger and hurt and betrayal, I know that we had talked a bit before tonight,
Yes.
and it sounds like Carmen has been trying to still hold Damien back a bit. And
Yes.
I'm wondering, given the promise that Carmen made, what they have been saying to try to placate and calm their brother.
I think Carmen is at the grave after even the first night, where everything's absolutely at an uncontrollable high, whereas now it's still very intense, but maybe a little bit more directed. And he is sitting with his back to like the tombstone, almost like a chair, and just starts rambling, just saying, Damien, we've learned a lot, and I will keep my promise to you. I swear to it. I think we need to be smart about this. I am on your side, and I believe that the Connollys and everyone else deserve the justice that we shall impart on them. You and I. No one else needs to be a part of this if you don't want them to.
And I will say, thank you for the follow.
That's sweet.
That is what Damien will say. Thank you for the follow.
Incredible.
Damien, up until this point, hasn't actually said a single thing. It has just been this dark, roiling, raw fury.
Mm-hmm.
And any attempt to talk to him, all you really get are the images of what he wants to do to the people who have wronged the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
But in this instance, even before you spoke, I wouldn't say the water was calm, but it felt like things were settling just a little bit, enough that it wasn't just pure unfiltered anger. That said, in a voice you really haven't even heard before, even when Damien was pure hunger and really couldn't convey anything else, there's something even darker and more unmanageable, more ungovernable than you've ever heard before. As he just growls, "You promised me."
And I will keep my promise. I just don't want to see you go down, be taken down. Should we not be smart about this? We can take our time, plan. We don't have to take that long. Let's say in a week's time, everyone's in chaos. We have a moment to breathe, to be intelligent, make a move, and exact our revenge. If we are reckless, we might lose it all.
Chaos is the exact time to act.
I think if we act now, it will only make them look good. like victims. The Duke and Duchess sit in their house, free as whatever, birds or whatever you want to say. Isaac is in chains. We'll deal with him later. We should savor this moment, this planning. We can get it over with quickly, or we can truly make them suffer. It's up to you, brother.
And it's those final words that make the difference. Because, Carmen, you can feel Damien readying a whole round of arguments against that. And you can also feel that he is wavering because you are making sense. And he always was logical and thoughtful and intelligent. And he wants to listen in that way. And it's when you say that it is his choice that you feel him not, again, fully settle, but something shifts. That pressure you've been feeling, that sense that you are one step away from losing control of your body and Damien taking over entirely, that goes away. And Damien, in a voice that sounds much more like the Damien you remember, says, "Well then, let's start planning." And with that, Carmen, I will let you read the letter that you find when you return to your room on that day.
Yeah. Let me pull it up. Oops. All the way down. Okay. Yeah. Carmen walks into his room. He sees Wynn tapping on the window. And I think when he sees her, he like lets go of this tension that he's been holding on to. He didn't even know that he was like, his jaw was like, it hurt to let go of, like, release his jaw a little bit, lower his shoulders. Like, he feels sore from all of that, like, holding on. And seeing when it just all melts away a little bit, and he rushes to the window and grabs the letter attached to her, and he as he kind of unrolls it, I think he reaches over on his desk and pulls out a couple like a little handful of, like, nuts and berries and seeds and stuff like that, and puts it on the windowsill to letter E. And it says, the letter is sealed with the Carewood crest and bound with a violet ribbon that secures a crimson rosebud to the paper. Inside, the familiar writing still carries something wilder in its form, the letters less neat. And it says, "My beloved Carmen, the days since our last meeting has been too long. I worry for you. Witnessing what happened to you and your brother has haunted me since I cast that spell. I can't imagine what suffering it has caused you. Truth often brings pain with its revelations. I ask that you brace yourself for my next words, for they will not be easy to read. A trusted friend contacted me to entrust a box to my care. They had retrieved it from a secret crypt in the Connolly estate before the royal guards descended on the place. Carmen, it holds the rest of you and Damien, that which wasn't found when your bodies were recovered. I haven't opened it, and I wish to return it to you. I've spent these past days researching what I can do and how to remedy what was done to you and Damien. It's a complicated ritual, but one I will attempt without hesitation should you ask it of me. You have been suffering terribly from this, yet you continue to put on a brave front. Do not worry over doing that with me. I care deeply for you. Let me be a source of comfort and companionship. Until our next embrace, ever yours, Rhiannon. And I think as he's reading that, he's holding the rosebud, like he did with the lavender, and kind of smelling it and playing with it in his hand. When he gets to the part about the box, I think he stops and rereads just that section over and over and over and over again, making sure that he actually read it correctly. And when he gets through the rest of it, he scoops out more seeds and pours it on the windowsill and says to Wynne, "Please wait. Let me respond. It's important." And then like immediately starts replying.
And you notice as you write your reply, Carmen, that, well, there was an initial surge of all of the emotions that your brother has been feeling since you went back and saw the moment of your deaths. It quiets to an almost concerning level. Almost in the moment you're going back to read that part of the letter again and again. And you're so focused on writing your response to Rhiannon that I don't think you realize until after you've handed Wynne the letter that for the first time you can remember, perhaps at all, but certainly since lines of communication between you and Damien became a lot more open, he has closed himself off from you. You can't feel what he's feeling. And I'm going to let you sit with that for a few moments as we move over to Octavia and
Hey, come on now.
get a chance to see what she has been experiencing in the days that followed. And Octavia, you
Yes.
managed to remove yourself from the situation as things happened very quickly within the palace. You were able to get outside and you had a lovely conversation with Joe. Well, the others were navigating, first of all, Colonel Horatio de Villiers being put in shackles and removed to the dungeon. And then the other three of you were escorted out of the palace with promises that your favor would certainly be owed to you and that you could return to ask of that. in the future, though not at that moment. Octavia, you've been in a bit of a unique position. I mean, really, you and Elise in different ways, because you are still at the residence of ostensibly the Spring Court, though I will say at this point, it is looking more and more like the Winter Court. The grounds are covered in frost and ice. The Spring Court has not had any argument with that. And tensions have been steadily rising. What has Octavia been doing over these past few days?
After her conversation with Joe that evening, Octavia spent a lot of time with a lot of pent up energy, and eventually decided that she needed to like let it out somewhere somehow, and so has been practicing with her ice, making different shapes. Most notably, a sword, which she has then taken down in the dead of night to the training area wherever the Spring Court Knights train, and just been swinging it, just tossing it around, while there's nobody awake. She doesn't know what to do or how to handle anything that's happened, and she doesn't know how King Laszlo is going to greet her when she does eventually have to deal with that.
And with that, Octavia, I will say there was one night that you went down to train. It was probably the second time, we'll say, when you felt eyes on you. And when you turned to look, you saw Helix standing not too far away, just watching you with a proud but sad expression on their face.
I think at first she would try to ignore them and just keep wailing on whatever implement is available for her to swing on. But eventually would just sort of, mostly out of anger with herself, but also just a little bit for Helix, would sort of toss the sword down and let it shatter, before turning to him. Can I help you?
Not at all, Octavia. I was just watching you train.
Okay. Why?
I know that I have disappointed you. And you see them pause and sift through their words, and in some ways that makes what they say even worse, because what they say is, you are still my responsibility.
I'm still your responsibility. That is enlightening. Did you have anything to do with what happened at the palace?
and they look confused and say, I'm not certain what role you think I could have had in anything there.
It doesn't matter. I don't. You didn't just let me down. You betrayed the first trust I ever had. And because of that, I have found myself in a predicament I don't think I can get out of.
I wish I could apologize for being the first person to teach you this hard lesson, Octavia. And I don't expect that there is anything I can do to regain your trust. However, if there comes a time where you would be willing to test the waters, if there is anything I can do to help you out of the predicament that you are in, I would be honored to do so.
I don't think there is. I have thought about it every day since we last spoke. And there is nothing that you could do to help me right now that would rebuild that.
I understand. I will leave you to your training then.
She turns, makes a new blade, and goes back to haplessly hitting a training dummy.
And while you no longer see Helix standing where they were, you still feel their eyes on you as you're training, not just that night, but other nights as well. Though they take care to not put themselves in eyesight of you. It is also within that time span that you are summoned to speak with King Laszlo.
She will attend in her finest winter court wear. Her hair will be done up perfectly, but she will keep her blade at her waist as her own sort of statement as to what she's been up to.
And it is good that within the fairy courts, that is not uncommon. Most will carry weapons, though Octavia never has before, which is what still makes this a powerful statement. It is not, though, something where the guards would remove weaponry before you would meet your regent, as again, it is common for many in that room to carry weapons on them. And in your case, Octavia, it is saying something about the prowess that you're developing. And when you are brought in, Octavia does not know much about many of the ways that the court operates, but she does know enough. Because so much of her knowledge has been the practical and the political. It has not been the emotional games that are played. It has not been those types of dynamics. But this solidifies something you've likely been thinking, and that is that tensions are not just fraying between the fairy courts and the rest of supernatural society, as Prince Reynard's murderer has not been properly brought to justice by anyone's standards at this point. You realize things are fraying within the fairy courts themselves because King Laszlo is sitting where the regents of the spring court would normally be sitting. And that is not something that happens ever. In fact, you can't think of a time in history where the court, who was not currently in control, allowed someone else to take hold. And so that might even like stop you in your tracks for a moment when you see that.
I think she pauses, and even though she would have liked to have hidden the expression on her face, it is rather apparent, just from Octavia's lack of practice in sort of that regent decorum, that she's quite enraged at this.
And King Laszlo does not note that, and you recognize that he would have seen all of that. I mean, he is someone who has been in power for a very, very long time. He knows how to read people's expressions, and you're not hiding that at all. But you are just motioned to come in, and he looks you up and down, his eyes just lingering on the sword for a few extra beats before he says, "Well, Lady Octavia Frostpen, I would like to hear your account of what happened at the palace that day."
Of course. Yes, hi, buddy. Hello. As you know, I was summoned with Lady Donatelli, Lady Carewood, and Mr. Deloso to help Seneschal Julius Shaw. To help Seneschal Julius Shaw solve the murder of my cousin, your son, the Prince of the Winter Court. We spent some time deliberating, and about partway through, I was feeling unwell, so I was shown to an exit whereupon I left and later came to find that Colonel Horatio de Villiers and the Connollys had been brought in for questioning.
He nods, takes that in. And what are you leaving out, Octavia?
Discovered a room in the palace. I froze some stuff to feel better. And that's it. Oh, no. I had a nice conversation with a stable hand.
Well, if that is it, then I suppose this will be all.
Actually, if I may have some questions, since we're in the business of sharing.
Go ahead, Octavia.
What about you? What are you leaving out, Uncle?
What exactly is it do you think that I am leaving out, Octavia?
Well, it's just that I have studied the history of our courts for quite some time. In fact, practically since I was born. And not once in the history of any of the Fae courts has any Fae regent ever taken the throne of another. So, forgive my idle curiosity. I am but a child. But what you doing?
You know that King Laszlo is always the picture of decorum. The most emotion you had ever seen from him was at his son's funeral. And when you say that, the majority of the emotion that you see when it does come through is anger at your insolence. But there is the slightest flicker, I wouldn't say of respect. That would give it too much credit, but you showing that you have this backbone has certainly put you on his radar. As it has been a very long time since anyone dared to speak to him in that way. That said, his response is, well, as you said, Octavia, you are but a child. And this is not any sort of business for a child to know about. This is something that will be handled between the regents of the courts.
Very well. Thank you for absconding with my curiosity, Your Highness. May I take my leave?
You may. And Octavia, I would be careful in the coming days.
It's sweet that you worry.
Well, one should always care about family.
Does Octavia continue at a blatant threat to her family? That is an excellent question. I think that's a matter of keeping her cool.
We love to see it.
Would she roll with cold, which Octavia has a -1 in? Aha. That's an 8 down to 7.
That is still a success. And so, Octavia, you are thinking about making a direct statement that could be a threat. I will ultimately leave the choice up to you. It's fair to say to be that blatant at this time would be playing a very dangerous game, because you can tell that there is this friction between the courts.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say this would be a time where accidents could happen. And so you may not want to play that hand fully in this moment.
Octavia is naive, but she's not dumb. And so will not look back at him, but as she leaves, she just sort of rests her hand on the now available hilt as she walks out. Just like as soon as the comment is made and she walks out, turns to any nearby servant. Go ahead and fetch Helix for me.
And the servant, for a moment, looks a bit surprised. And that is in part because, well, Octavia has mostly kept to herself and has not had as many interactions with the servants, let alone made asks like this often, but says, I will do that.
Thank you.
And we will return to Octavia and Helix in just a moment. But first, we are going to swing back to Rhiannon. And
Fun.
so,
How haunted has my bedroom been? More or less haunted than my boyfriend.
I mean, can you quantify these sorts of things, really? Bedroom's haunted.
Cool.
You notice that immediately. Throughout the night, you felt a wind almost slipping through the cracks.
Ooh, don't like that. Flashbacks being locked away.
Chilling the room, and even though it's spring, bringing the temperature down, not to a dangerous level, certainly, and not even to an uncomfortable level, especially when you're in bed, but enough that it has an effect. And your dreams that night, when you do sleep, are filled with images of what you saw in that vision when you went back. just replaying those moments over and over again. But now there's that whispering behind it. Just ceaselessly there, still not audible as words, but spilling in to the point where there is a part of you, the part that realizes you're in a dream, you find yourself wondering, is it this loud in the room? And is someone going to hear? But you're in a dream and you can't jump out of that. So how is Rhiannon doing the next morning?
On edge. Like once she has some privacy after Noelle has helped her prepare for the day and has left, and Rhiannon makes sure the door is locked for a moment, she kind of goes in her closet and takes down the box and just says, listen, I'd appreciate it if you at least would not make my room that cold. I understand this is a terrible position to be in for you. I'm trying to help. If you want me to understand what you're saying, you need to be a little more clear with your words, Damien. And I know you can be, because you always were very eloquent. She's holding the box close to kind of try to help listen in case there's some sort of response.
I'm going to give you a choice. Would you like to just say that and whatever happens, happens? Or would you like to roll with dark? Recognizing that, especially on a low roll, you are very volatile right now. And that could make things go off the rails very quickly.
I'm darkest self, so I'm gonna roll for it.
Okay.
Well, let's see.
Go. Let's make the
For
feral
life
choice.
decisions only. Let's fucking do this. Watch me roll well. Okay. It was dark.
Yep.
Ironically, my best stat. Maybe that's why Rhiannon just failed at being such a good person. She didn't have enough balance. 10.
Incredible. And so, in that moment, there is not an immediate response. But the whispering does quiet, and your room feels a bit less cold. Whispering is not gone, but the volume has been turned way down.
I appreciate the effort, Damien. Thank you. I'm going to do what I can for you and Carmen. And I'll get you back to your brother soon. I promise. I've already let him know you're here. Part of you's here. But still trying to understand how this works, since you know what I mean. Just gonna gently put him back up on the shelf. She's got a corpse in her closet. This is fine. Bonham est. This is where her life's at, and she doesn't care because she's dark as self. It's fine. This is a future problem.
This is so very fine. And it is so fine that is right when there is a knock on your door.
Just gonna close the closet and just kind of walk over and open it.
Your father is standing there.
Hello, Father. What can I help you with?
He does not say anything to you. In fact, he brushes past you into your room and straight to the window and just walks over and looks out of it and looks down.
I'm dead. Okay. No, I'm not. You have no other air. I'm fucked, though. Okay.
And just stands there for a very long moment before he turns to you. He is not telegraphing his expression at all, though you can see the tightness in his jaw. He can't hide that. And he just says, "Well, Rhiannon, what do you have to tell me?"
About what?
About why the trellis beneath your window is broken.
It is?
It is.
Goes over to the window to look. I don't know. When did that happen?
Last night, Rhiannon.
Don't know how it got broken.
He walks over to your closet.
Father, what are you doing?
He opens it.
Does he do anything else?
He looks inside. He moves your clothes around. And then he turns to you and asks, "Who did you sneak into your room, Rhiannon?"
I snuck no one into my room.
No.
No.
And once again, I have to ask, what happened with the trellis?
I was feeling restless, so I went down to the garden and I took the trellis because I was worried that I wouldn't be allowed to go out into the garden at night due to all the incidents that have been happening around London. I wanted to be left to my own devices and be at peace with nature.
Roll to manipulate an NPC.
All right, what's that roll?
That is with hot.
Oh, awesome. Okay. This is my roll with hot. Okay. 11. Darkest self influence.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Because with an 11, he steps out of the closet and is focused enough on you that you know he is powerful.
Mhm.
He could easily sense what would be in there, but he has been distracted enough with the possibility that you had snuck someone in, and then with trying to catch you in a lie, that he closes the door behind him and says, "I suppose that is one of the more reasonable things you have said."
I know it was a bit
Next,
overly dramatic of me, but been very on edge lately.
I would rather you did not break your neck falling. Next time, use the stairs. And Rhiannon, we have a greenhouse for a reason.
I'm aware of that. I wanted the night air.
Well, perhaps curb those impulses.
course. Will there
And
be
with-
anything else?
He seems satisfied, but I have to ask you, are you satisfied, given what you learned at the palace?
Nope, not.
I would like you to roll to keep your cool, if that is something you're wanting to do.
Yeah. Minus, what was it again? Minus 1. Yeah, that's a 6. So, failing forward. Yay! One more fail and I can pick a new thing.
We love to see that.
Yay! Advancement!
We also would love to hear what you say to your father.
Father, before you go, there was one thing I wanted to bring up to address with you. While I was speaking with the seneschal about, well, he did come to you first for permission. Obviously the topic of the prince came up, as did our marriage contract, and imagine my surprise when the contract was not the one I was led to believe it was.
And your father does not look particularly pleased that this topic of conversation is coming up, though he does not look concerned at all. And simply says, "You knew it was always a business arrangement, Rhiannon."
Yes. But given that I was a part of the arrangement, I would rather think I should have had a say in giving what was mine away.
Well, I think it is obvious that those of us making the decisions felt differently.
And you were incorrect to do so.
What was that, Rhiannon?
You were incorrect to do so, Father. These are my abilities. Only I decide what I do with them.
Rhiannon, I will not tolerate you speaking to me in this way.
And I will not tolerate being lied to and traded away like a farm animal just so you can attempt to have a different child.
You were always going to be a disappointment to us, Rhiannon. In this way, at least you would have been useful.
Yes, I understand that now. Incidentally, what did the prince want my powers for?
That was for him to decide.
He didn't tell you?
That was not a part of the agreement.
You weren't concerned? Of course you weren't.
It was no longer going to be my problem.
I see. Well, thank you, Father, for the clarity you've given me. Suppose I shall just have to live with being a disappointment of a daughter, as you will have to live with being a failure of a father.
And that, I think,
Oh,
is where we are going to take our
JD, I'm so dead.
Hey, come on
to take
now.
our break.
No!
Incredible.
happening?
Be
What's up with everybody tonight?
I'm getting locked
What's
up
gotten
again.
into us?
I'm getting
Abigail's
locked
not
up
here.
again. I'm
We
getting
are-
locked up. Carmen's about to kill someone. Octa's about to commit regicide.
No. Octa would never kill anyone.
It's fine. Everything is fine. Bonamest.
Everything is Bonamest, yeah.
Abigail's fine. We've just tossed all
Everything is
prescience out
Bonamest.
the window.
Getting locked up again.
So we will be back in 10 minutes to find out what happens
Swear to
now
God.
that
My Rammies!
Rhiannon Stark's self has finally confronted their father. So don't go away. We'll be back soon.
See it.
Love you all. Be back for the Rammies.
Rammy night.
Welcome here
Interesting.
for bringing us live again.
Oh my goodness. Hello. We're not talking about anything bad.
No,
No.
we are talking only about good things.
Yeah. Is
Welcome
anyone else
back.
hungry?
I'm hungry. Can you order me like a pizza, Raph?
I don't have pizza, but I do have daddy stew, which is what I'm cooking
if
for
you
you
could
tonight.
drop ship me daddy stew, I would be very appreciative.
What did I miss?
Why do I have to be hearing these words?
You asked for this.
I did not ask for daddy stew.
Will's gonna be so sad he missed the daddy stuff.
Well, yeah, that's.
I saved Will a bowl.
Will, I miss you. I'm so excited for you to watch this episode, Will.
Anyway,
This is where we are at tonight. I should mention, incidentally, the cast is encouraging me to let them go until 11:30/midnight. So we will see if this actually happens. But I might take this under consideration. That is what soda is for. And yes. Okay, so we left on a bit of a cliffhanger.
Everything very much was bottom isn't, as I believe Kit said.
yeah, shit.
Yeah.
That, yes, Kit, that is very, very valid. Rhiannon had just said to their father that he was a failure.
Yeah.
And that
Was
is
I
why...
wrong?
I was going to say let's get a poll in the chat, but we already know what those results
We know
would
the
be.
results.
But Raph is on that. And that is why, instead of picking up with Rhiannon, we are going to move back to Octavia. And I'm curious.
Hey, come on now.
When you asked the servant to find Helix, where did you ask for Helix to be brought to?
The training grounds, but at this point, Octa has sort of set up a little mini, like, not room, but she's got like a table there now with books on it.
You're probably there about 15, maybe 20 minutes before Helix arrives, and they are once again very closed off in their expression. You can tell that they're not quite sure why you asked them to come here, and they do not want Octavia to know what they might be thinking or feeling about this request. They are still decked out mostly in almost military garb with a sword of their own across their back, as they have been since Prince Reynard's murder. But they just come over, kind of survey the table, and just say your name.
Helix, thank you for coming. I know last time I spoke to you was a little rough, but I'm in a mood, and I have a question for you, and I would prefer if you answered honestly, regardless of any preceding attachments you have to the answer to this question.
I cannot promise to answer honestly. What I can promise is to not answer if I cannot answer honestly.
It's a promise, then. What do you know about what happened to my parents?
I have that information, Octavia, or at least some of it. But what would you be hoping for out of knowing?
I am afraid that I cannot tell you that until I hear the answer. Call this an exercise in trusting me.
Then I feel we are at a bit of a stalemate, Octavia, as I would be remiss in my duties if I answered that without knowing the answer to your question.
Your duties lie with me, do they not?
Octavia, I would like you to roll to manipulate an NPC.
I would love to. Woohoo! JD, that's going to be a 6 and a 6 and a +2.
Absolutely incredible. First of all, you get a string on Helix for that.
I love those.
Your conversations with Helix have paved the way for this conversation and for them to have that trust in you. That reminder of the fact that they have always been there for you. They've been the one constant in your life. Well, they have not shown that commitment to you in the same way recently. You know that they took that seriously, that they were often as much a friend as a tutor. And it has been recently out of the divided loyalty that that trust has broken down with their commitment to the court as well as their commitment to you and these pieces suddenly being at odds. And they consider your words and I know I can trust you, Octavia, because I've taught you well, and maybe I did not teach you all of what you needed to know to understand what the Winter Court is actually like. I've taught you what you need to survive here. Hope I have at least.
I understand that sentiment. I appreciate that sentiment. But right now, I don't need to survive here. I'm sorry that I put you in a position where you would have to lie to me like that. Simply by being adjacent to my cousin at any given point. However, King Laszlo's behavior as of current is disconcerting to me, a member of his court. And if finding out what went wrong with my parents can help me absolve that, then it is your duty, not only to me, but to the Winter Court itself, to disclose that to me.
I do not know if this will give you the information you need for that, Octavia, but regardless, I am willing to share what I know. And perhaps it does have some bearing on some of the dynamics you're seeing here. It was, of course, before you were born. Your parents were very close to the king and queen, the most trusted for a period of time. And I don't know the specifics of their reasoning. They have never confided that in me, only to say, after everything that happened, that they made a mistake. But Octavia, your family was accused of treason. They were accused of aiming to build an alliance between themselves and the Autumn Court. And the only thing that saved them was their connection to the royal family and the fact that they begged for forgiveness and promised to never take up any amount of power again. They were not forced to rescind their titles formally, but they all but did. And it was only in seeing the promise in you that King Laszlo was willing to not so much give them, the family through you, a second chance. And I say that to you, Octavia, because you need to be very, very careful.
Then you'll understand why I can't tell you why that information was needed.
Then I will simply say, Octavia, that you would do well to ensure that you have some allies, preferably not within any of the courts. if you understand what I am saying.
Helix, if I were to ask you to help me with that, would you promise not to go to the king with it?
That is a promise I cannot make, which is why it would seem to me you may want to look to some of those you have recently been forced to spend time with.
I intend to. Thank you. This was very good of you. And once this is all over, I hope, upon hope, that we can reunite as friends.
I hope for that as well, Octavia. And I hope that you make the wisest decisions that you can. Because I would hate for there to ever come a time where we are on opposite sides of the battlefield, or it to come to that.
You've seen my form. Not exactly a fair fight if I was up against you.
Yes, well, that was one of the lessons we really did not spend enough time on.
Oh, too many books. A lot of knives.
I think you are well armed.
If you'll excuse me, Helix, I need to send for some friends.
Of course, and unless you ask for me, I will keep my distance so that I am not in a place where I might discover anything I would need to report.
And I shall do the same.
And so we will return to Octavia in just a moment. But before we do, I first want to ask Rhiannon.
Yep.
So,
Mm-hmm.
you had sent the letter to Carmen, and a letter had almost immediately been sent back. Given certain restrictions placed on your room,
Mm-hmm.
would Wynn still be able to get that letter to you?
I believe so.
Okay. I would love to know what we see as we come back to Rhiannon and see them a few moments before Wynn's return.
So Rhiannon is in disarray. She is furious. She is once again restricted to her room. She did not beg or plead about it. She did take a lot of her frustrations out on her locked door, so she is a bit of a mess. The hair is very untidy. Her hands looking a bit bruised, probably scraped because she was punching that door and scratching at that door and just taking everything out on that door. And it is quality wood, so it did not break. But neither did she. She is pacing around, very tense, very like trapped animal, and just seething. And so it is kind of with some surprise when she hears Wynn tapping on the window, because she'd forgotten about it with that confrontation and how messy it got. But she immediately like looks hopeful and rushes and takes the letter from Wynn. And I will pull it up here.
And so before you read the letter, there's a
Yes.
few things that I will make note of. And so it is, of course, not simply the lock on the door that keeps you inside. There is effectively a cage of magic around the room.
Cool.
And it isn't visible because we're only seeing your side of the door. But on the outside of the window, the way that manifests is thick vines, pretty much sealing you in. And the window itself is not able to be opened to any extent. You only know when is there because you can hear them and hear kind of that pecking against the small bits of glass that are still visible. But Wen is able to kind of push the letter enough under the window that you were able to at least bring that inside, though you cannot bring them in too.
My burb. I just kind of tap the glass so Wynn hears just like, wait a moment. Just a bird. Then she just kind of sits on the floor by the window and just unrolls the letter. It's a small rolled note attached, the writing scratched and hurried, along with a little cloth bag. It says, My Rhiannon, to even know a creature such as yourself is a blessing I do not take lightly. You are a raging fire in my damp grave. You are the altar where I learned what it means to worship someone unconditionally. Whatever dark magics I use to bewitch you, may they never break, for I do not know what I would do without your blazing eyes and thorn-draped body. You speak as if this cursed box isn't the greatest news. Those bastard Connollys will face our wrath soon enough. You continue to promise me my dreams, and I swear to you that I will return the favors in triplicate, though you deserve an eternity of wishes granted. Let me begin by gifting you a secret we shall share. Attached, you will find some seeds to plant in your garden wherever you wish, an ever-growing bouquet as a reminder of my oath to you. Thank you, your Carmen. I'm guessing the seeds could not fit through the glass, so they are probably still tied to Wynn.
They are.
And Brandon just kind of smiles and just kind of holds the letter for a moment before taking a paper from her writing desk and not bothering with a wax seal. She just writes, My father has locked me away in my room with magic. I am having difficulty getting out. He does not yet know of the box. And just pushes it through to Wynn and says, Take this back to Carmen.
Incredible.
And she just waits by the window.
And Wen kind of taps on the glass in acknowledgement of...
Sorry, buddy. Baby. Sorry, baby.
And they fly off to return to Carmen. Where does this letter find you, Carmen?
I think Carmen is still in their room. I think they are sitting on their bed, kind of grabbing at their chest and shaking. After sending the letter, they feel Damien shutting them out, which is not something he has felt in a long time. And I think he's sitting there and he's very upset because it took him so long to notice, longer than he would have liked. And when for a fraction of a second, when he did finally notice, for a flash, there was a tiny, tiny bit of relief that perhaps not that Damien was necessarily a burden, but like maybe for some reason he had found peace or something had happened and he could just be Carmen could just be themselves again, fully and completely. And having that realization, he feels so guilty because he owes everything to Damien. His current life, or whatever you want to call it, is because of his brother's sacrifice. And the fact that he even subconsciously felt that is a little bit tearing him apart. And now that Damien is silent, he's scared that maybe Damien felt that too, like felt that flash.
And I think, to be honest, you're pretty sure that is part of what happened. And even though you've been trying to communicate to Damien that even if you're not doing it directly, you're letting him know what that relief was, what it wasn't, and making the love that you have for your brother very clear, that wall isn't coming down.
I think Carmen feels truly scared for the first time in a long time. Scared that maybe he's lost Damien forever. He doesn't know. Neither of them really know how this works, what Damien needs to be there. And when Damien kind of shuts him off, there's like an encroaching, at first kind of slowly and then very strongly, sense of aloneness. Not necessarily lonely, but he realizes what it is to be just a singular being. Because even when he was just himself and Damien was alive, they were still always together. There's always that like knowing that his brother's right across the hall for any reason. So I think he's kind of going through it right now. Yeah.
I will say, well, it was never something that you experienced when Damien was alive. There is a moment where you knew, but you remember, I'm not alone. That's why I feel this wall. Because on the other side of it is Damien. And you don't have a frame of reference for this, but you have been aware, at least, of enough others where you can imagine, if not from anything you witnessed, from stories or things like that, that when siblings fight, sometimes they are just a room away. And in this moment, it is not that Damien is gone. It is that he has purposely put himself in the other room, but is still there. And so it's not necessarily taking away the absence in this moment as much as reminding you that this absence is not permanent.
I think then Carmen is just sitting there, kind of like holding himself together as if he's gonna, like, almost trying to keep that uh keep that feeling, and is just whispering this whole time, just, I'm so sorry, brother. It's not what I meant. It's You're right to be angry at me. I've kept things from you. I have not let you seek what you've needed to. I've taken advantage of the situation, and it's cruel of me to think that being rid of you would bring me solace when you have completed me my whole life. I'm so sorry.
And it is at that moment, Carmen, that you hear the tapping on the window as Wynn returns.
And I think he just kind of is shocked out of that for a second, not really expecting a reply so quickly. And when he reads the note, I think he lets Win inside, just like cracks the window open and shows them where the little bag of seeds and stuff are. And says, well, brother, perhaps we can find justice a little bit earlier than we expected. I hope you're hungry. And I think just like walks out the door.
Absolutely incredible. And even as you're reading the letter and feeling your own anger bubble to the surface, you feel that wall coming down brick by brick. And by the time you offer Damien that invitation, you know he's right there with you.
I think it's another realization of like, wow, I did not know how badly I needed that invitation. But also how badly I needed like Damien to be there. Even those like minutes or hour or however long it was. Don't want to do that again.
And so before we follow Carmen to the Carewood estate, I am curious, Octavia, what you are planning.
Can Octavia have borrowed Ghost?
Yes.
She does not want to have sent a letter specifically to these two, just for the very nature of what she's probably going to ask them to do. And is taking Ghost to ride out to the Carewood residence, and then subsequently in her plans to the Deloso residence, to see if she can't get them on board to have a little chat with a lovely little queen who owes us a favor.
Absolutely incredible. And what I am going to say with that is I think it makes perfect sense that you and Carmen are approaching the Carewood estate at the exact same time. And so, Carmen, you see Octavia riding up on a medium-sized gray horse. I will say, did you ask Joe for discretion?
She probably did, just because she didn't know what was going to happen, and very specifically doesn't want anyone caught in the crosshairs of her being very stupid.
And so all of Ghost's tack is very like muted and subdued. There are no flashy colors, no insignias, nothing like that. Nothing that would tie them back to what they are, which is one of the horses of the palace. And so you, Carmen, see Octavia riding up.
Octavia, and I think he kind of like bows but like keeps walking like very quickly, and says, I'm sorry, but
Oh, good.
this is not a good time for a social call.
Oh, not a social call. I need your help with a thing, and I need Lady Carewood's help with the same thing.
I'm a bit busy at the moment. And I think Carmen's Damien's eye is like, I don't want to say pulsing because that sounds gross, but
Yeah, just had fun. Rip it, baby.
Thank you for the donation.
Yes, thank
And
you.
you grab one for the big boy.
I meant like the pupil. It's like growing, like wanting
Dilating.
to take over. Yeah, dilating. Thank you, not pulsing.
That's better.
Anyway, and I think he just turns to her and is about to honestly like snap a little bit just to kind of like back off, and sees your ice sword and says, well, that might come in handy actually. You should probably come in.
Oh, I'll help. Yeah, absolutely.
Is it nighttime when they get here? Like, is it evening? Is this afternoon? Like, evening?
It's evening. It's after dinner.
Less witnesses?
I think then right before the door, like I think Carmen just kind of grabs Octavia and says, I'm going to be extremely honest with you right now. Rhiannon is trapped inside of her room, not willingly. So I've decided that their freedom is paramount and comes at the price of a certain someone that has been consistently in their way.
You're going to well,
I need you to decide right now if you're going to stand with me with your quite marvelous, honestly, ice sword, or if you're going to get in my way. Because if you're going to get in my way, I beg you to leave before it gets really dangerous.
can I answer that with my own bout of honesty?
Of course. Quickly.
I'm going to ask you both help with staking my claim to the Wintercourt throne, and quite frankly, if Miss Carewood were the head of her household, that would be extraordinarily fortuitous for me.
And then I think Carmen reaches out his hand and says, "It's a promise."
Sure.
And
I love how there's like no attempt at subtlety. We're just going in the front door to throw hands. I love it.
Yeah, I think he kind of turns to the door and then turns to Octavia and says, "Do you think there's probably another way in? I don't think fighting gods is probably."
I don't know how Fey magic is against witch magic necessarily, but we could try one of the windows.
JD, would it be fair to say Wynn has been following along, and when they say that, Wynn could chirp to get their attention and kind of try to guide them to the back of the estate?
I think that is
towards
very
Rhiannon's
fair.
windows.
Wonderful.
And is Rhiannon on a top floor, like a second floor?
Yes, she is.
We need
There's
to get
the
up there.
damaged trellis. Don't know if there's any
Carmen
trees nearby.
Carmen immediately gets on a knee and starts lifting Octavia up.
No, hey.
We have to get up there. It's broken.
It'd be easier if I just make a platform. Do you have any water?
There's probably a fountain somewhere in the back garden. They have a lot of money.
Yeah, you can definitely find. You can definitely find water.
Wonderful.
Cool. So Octavia is in a show-offy mood right now, and since Carmen has thrown subtlety out the window, is just going to approach the fountain and, in a more showy fashion than she's ever done with her ice, is going to move the water from the fountain to the ground underneath Rhiannon's window, take Carmen's hand, and freeze it into a little platform to get up to the window.
Incredible. Yeah.
I'm going to allow it.
And amazing.
Yes.
I think when tapping at the window hopefully will alert Rhiannon.
Rhiannon has been like planted by that window waiting for a response, so she's just like, "Wynn?" Can she see it all through like the vines? No, so she doesn't know they're there.
Yeah, they cannot see in. You cannot see out.
She does tap back to Wynn when she hears Wynn tapping.
I think when Carmen gets up there, he just starts saying, "Rhiannon, are you there? Can you hear me? How do we break through these fucking vines?"
Yeah, I'm here. You climbed the trellis? Yeah, at the vines. It's
well.
We can address that in a moment. It's an entrapment hex. What do I know about this, JD? Because I know I haven't been able to bust it.
I mean, you know, your father is a lot more powerful than you are.
Yeah. I know my father is very strong, and I can't get it from my end. I don't know if it'd be easier for you to try it from your end, given that I am higher up. So Perhaps it's something within my room as opposed to outside my room. Are you able to cut the vines at all?
Would cutting the vines alert your father?
There's a chance.
Do I have permission to kill your father?
Rand just kind of like,
Wait, you're asking permission now? You seem so
Octavia?
sure
Always
at the
ask my
front door.
lady's position.
wait, how many of you
Hi.
are here? Hello, Lady Frostpin. Thank you. Rand does sound genuinely like touched because she didn't think Octavia liked her, and now Octavia's helping Carmen to rescue this.
Well, to be
I will
quite
not miss
honest,
him.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Ow.
Oh, this might have been
Where should we
rash, but
enter from?
try this window. Let's start here.
Well, if he appears, we'll take care of him.
Do you want me to-
Octavia?
should I? Okay. Octavia's gonna take the ice blade and sort of just try to gut it into the vines. And attempt to cut the window out.
I'm gonna have you roll to lash out physically.
Ooh!
So roll with volatile.
Volatile. Oh,
We had a volatile roll yet?
Octavia is not a very volatile person. That is a 6 and a 5. -1 is 10.
10!
Okay.
Okay.
It's because she wants that crown.
And so, Octavia, you are able to chop away at the vines. And this isn't something I believe anyone but Rhiannon would pick up, as Rhiannon is the one who is attuned to magic. You know that you felt the magic, pulsing around your room. If this were to alert your father, you would feel that through. There would be a disturbance in the energy that is surrounding you.
Mm-hmm.
You do not feel that when Octavia hacks away at the vines and they fall off to the side. What you do know is that while that didn't alert your father, it does not change the fact that the vines were only one piece of this and not the most important piece. This now allows you to see and more clearly interact with each other. It does not.
I reach out my hand and it's
Exactly. You reach out and it basically sparks.
It's just I could get the letter through. I think while Rhiannon had been waiting for the letter, she did change into riding attire. It's the most comfortable thing to move around in. So she quickly runs to her closet and gets the box and runs back to the window. And she says, Carmen, I want to try to pass this to you. I don't want my father to find it if during this he's alerted.
That's not what's important right now.
It is important, though.
Lady Carewood, in the interest of being honest, Mr. Deloso and I have decided that it might be best if you were the head of your house.
Oh. I'm flattered. She's just taken in that's both of them standing on ice outside her window at night. I would not be opposed to that, honestly. I think I would do a better job than my father has been. Why are you invested in this?
Well, Carmen, for obvious reasons. Me, however, I intend to put an end to the tensions between the courts, and to do that, I need to be where King Laszlo is currently sitting.
Oh.
And I need allies.
I've liked you, Octavia. I've had no quarrel with you, and I find you a very thoughtful and charming person. And I think that would be an improvement over the current family on the throne. So I would be happy to support you in your claim.
But
But I would. It goes without saying to tread carefully with this. It is a very dangerous business with monarchs.
I'm aware. I have been amply warned. My mind is made up. If you would not give your support for fear of your own safety, I understand that.
No, I don't know if the king had any awareness or say in Prince Reynard's machinations with our marriage.
It is almost certain he did.
Oh, well then, there's no question of my help. I will
You
fully
can't really
support
help
your
when you're trapped
claim.
inside. So
Yeah, how-
No,
do we
that is a problem.
drop the whole hex thing?
is it through your father? Should we have gone through the front?
Well, he wouldn't answer the front door himself. I mean, if you can extend the platform further, you could try a different window leading outside my room to the hall. Would I know if we would have to do something with my father, if there's something we could do ourselves? Do I
Is
need
it
to
like
roll?
if you slay the mage, the spells die?
That is the way this works. And
Sick.
so, what I would say for you, Rhiannon, is that you could try to work your own magic. I mean, in fact, you feel like you're more than powerful enough to do that. So, I actually think roll to keep your cool.
Am I cool? Yay, my worst stat!
Me too, bestie.
Yes. That's a 7.
That is still a success.
Just shy of a fail.
So you have the choice, and that is important. And so
if we can make a quick escape, I think I can take this down.
you're not 100% confident of that.
Potentially.
You
Also-
you know it's going to be a tug of war, Rhiannon, and
The moment I start doing it, he's going to know. Yep.
yes, and that the amount of energy you would have to expend to have any hope of tearing the spell down yourself would leave you with little else to defend yourself with. So that is the piece where you could do it and there would be consequences.
Why don't we go through the front then?
Yeah, well, actually,
Could
if you, it's just a thought. If it would be difficult for you to escape due to it occupying your attention, could you get us inside?
I distracting my father by messing with it?
Well, if you mess with it enough, we should be able to step in, same as you'd be able to step out. Yes.
In theory. He would still be on his way to.
Yes, that's the idea. He'd be on
Would-
his way.
You would have the element of surprise if at least one of you were able to get in before he did.
I
There
believe
is only
Mr.
one entrance to my
DeLoso's more
room.
suited to that.
Well, your father still has some sort of dream with the Winter Court, does he not?
Well, it's been a bit confounded by my actions and Reynard's death, but I would imagine he is still eager to have that son he's always wanted. So.
What about another daughter?
No,
Octavia, you're planning to take the throne, are you not?
Octavia's cheeks flush deep blue. I suppose I am.
Could we not, or at least you, not come with some sort of gallantry while I slip through the kitchens or something? You can
want
be
me
the
to
distraction.
I could distract him, sure.
I just need a moment with him.
So you would like Octavia to go through the front door under the pretense of making an alliance with my father, And while she is talking to him, you would sneak through the kitchen, avoid the servants, and spring upon him.
Oh, well, I can handle the servants. I mean, me come knocking with such a private matter. Servants aren't to be present for that sort of dealing.
No, they would be present in the kitchen, though. Perhaps not the
Empty
library.
the house, then.
How am I to empty the house?
Not you.
I could just walk through the kitchen, really.
Yeah, that's also true. I mean, well, oh no, hold on. Don't kill anyone else.
Yes, the servants haven't done anything wrong.
I
It
would
is-
prefer if you didn't.
I won't. Maybe. I can't really stop once I start, so.
Please save it for my father.
Am I
if
in
you
danger?
must. My father is very
Not
powerful.
in danger.
Granted, you are not currently. Well, no, you are here. That probably would be enough to pique his curiosity. I don't know if there's a way to convince him to bring me out of my room during this meeting, but if you cannot, you would at least still be distracting him.
It sounds like Mr. Deloso intends to do him away while his back is away from the kitchen, talking to me.
Well, if he brings you, when your father receives visitors, where does he take them?
He takes them to his parlor, but if it's talk of business, they typically go in his study. It connects to the parlor.
Perfect. Or sneak in the window of the parlor or something. I don't have to go through the kitchens. It was just my way of saying go through the back.
Of course. And I would know it would be simple enough to sneak through the window, right?
Yes, I mean, security.
It would take a lot to maintain a barrier the whole time around the house, so I imagine it's not
Yes.
typically done. Like it's one thing to contain a room.
If Damien just had one guard, I could change my dress.
I'm not going to complain if you do what you need to do and I'm not around to see it.
All right. Well, then I'll see you in the parlor.
I would.
Rhiannon, I shall see you soon.
Yes, I wish I could see the moment he realizes that he was outplayed, but you shall have to tell me.
Lady Carewood,
Lady Frostpin?
I'm sorry for how I treated you when the season began. For what it's worth.
It is worth a lot, and you did not have the whole story, but I forgive you. And if it makes you feel better, you did not treat me as cruelly as others had. When you had more reason to.
That is a comfort.
It speaks of your character very highly.
Right. Well, we'll see you in a bit.
Be careful. He's very powerful.
And Octavia will allow the platform to melt.
Just watches and is very just like, I want to be there, but I'm stuck. So she's just back to pacing. She puts the box back. She kind of keeps going to the front door in case it ever weakens at any point so she can run out. But yeah.
Octavia.
Yes?
Perhaps you could ask him to bring Rhiannon down.
So that she can watch you.
She's a powerful witch. She could help us.
Okay. I will see if that is plausible. I'm going.
I think Carmen will take off the earring that Rhiannon gave him and give it to Octavia and say,
This is.
perhaps she left this with you. Also, it will protect you. He's powerful, so I wouldn't leave you alone with him unprotected. I know you have a sword, but
What is this? It's an earring. Protect me? Is this a witch thing?
and Carmen just closes Octavia's hand around it and just, I do not understand it.
Okay, good. We're in the same boat. That's good for a team.
Absolutely incredible. And so, Carmen, you are heading to the parlor window to get in that way. Octavia, you are heading for the front door.
Yes.
What does Octavia do when she reaches the front door?
She knocks on the front door, attempts to make herself look more presentable. She's wearing her, not necessarily, they're training clothes, but they aren't necessarily like any less nice. They're just more masculine than what her normal formal wear would be. Like pants, a full jacket, basically, and her hair's tightly done up as to give the appearance of being put together in some capacity.
And Octavia, your frost is so often a part of you. And that is something that really adds to your attire in this moment. Even though what you're wearing is perhaps more subdued than what palace finery would be, as you are standing there preparing yourself to take an audience with Duke Carewood, your frost starts to cover your clothes, looking for all purposes like embroidery, and elevating that appearance, going up your hands, covering a bit of your face in patterns and fractals. And you look every inch the potential future queen. The servant that opens the door almost does a bit of a double take, both because they did not expect you specifically to be here, and also because your appearance is that stunning as the moonlight shines off the ice glittering all over you.
Good evening. I should quite like to speak rather urgently with the Duke Carewood.
Of course, Lady Frostpin. What shall I tell him of the matter of this meeting?
I have a vested interest in his daughter's hand.
And there is a definite look of surprise, but you almost get a sense of relief. Like, this is good news. And the servant says, one moment, and steps away to speak with another servant, ostensibly to go and find Duke Carewood, and then turns back to you and says, Lady Frostpin, it would be my honor to escort you to the study.
It would be equally so mine to be escorted by you.
And they blush a bit at that. They are not used to being spoken to, especially by someone of your station in that way. And they lead the way over to Duke Carewood's study. It is not long before Duke Carewood arrives. It is not immediate. He definitely took his time, could not rush himself or make it seem like he was too eager for this. And Octavia, as he enters, you have never seen Duke Carewood before outside of briefly being aware of his presence at Prince Reynard's funeral. And that is why this does not click in your brain the way it does until this very moment. Perhaps it was that you were distracted then. Perhaps it is the new information that has come to light over the past week or so. But it was Duke Carewood whose name was going to be on that contract. And that contract was broken. And that means that as soon as you see him, you see that. It's almost an aura around him. And you remember that contracts, broken promises, those are what the Fey Court does. And that means not only is he an eligible target to be punished for that, in essence, he's doubly that target, because this was not just a broken contract. This was a broken contract with your court. And so I will let you decide exactly how you want to use your move. But I will say you can definitely use it to give 2 harm. You can use it on a roll of your choice to add 4 against him. Or you can use it to give to Carmen for whatever they might need. But as you are here to technically take vengeance on him, you realize you have even more of an upper hand than you previously realized the 3 of you did.
Octavia is going to bide her time to give that to Carmen, but I do have a contribution to how that plays out when we get to that.
I love
but
that.
for now, she hears him enter and she turns around and her eyes are they're glowing blue as she's come to understand that a contract is broken, and as the future queen of the Winter Court, she has to set a precedent. She turns with the glowing eyes and smiles at the Duke. Duke Carewood, so happy you could meet with me so late at night.
Lady Frostpin, it is my honor, though also my surprise.
Yes, imagine my surprise as well when I find out that affectations returned are oh so rare. Lady Carewood left me an earring, a token of affectation. Now, before we go forward, it is prudent to me that we clear the servants and we bring Lady Carewood down to listen in on discussions. I hope that's clear.
Octavia, I would like you to roll to manipulate an NPC, and I will give you an extra +1 for all of these circumstances, including Carmen giving over that earring for you to have.
Go, Octavia!
Oh boy. That's a 5 and a 4 is 9 plus 3 is 12.
Incredible. First of all, you have a string on him for whatever you might want to use it for.
I love having strings on people. It's my favorite activity.
And he does not seem to even really register like 90% of what you said in terms of actually like slowing down to think about it. He just sees that earring in your hand. He's seeing you a titled member of the Winter Court. He's seeing all the ways that this can fix his family. And so he nods and says, of course, Rhiannon should be here for this, and this is not a matter for servants. And then walks to the door, pauses, and says, "Before I send the servants away, would there be any hospitality that I could offer? A drink?"
Accommodating my requests is hospitality enough, Duke.
Very good. And he steps out, speaks to one of the servants to ask that the message be sent for all of them to complete their work for the evening. And then he heads up to your room, Rhiannon. But before we get there, Carmen, what are you up to?
Octavia is doing this absolute elegant espionage. Carmen is like sneaking through the garden, trying to find the right window. I think he's definitely building exactly. Definitely building on that anticipation. Honestly, with Damien's feelings in there, like a bit of excitement, and kind of opening the door just a little, to allow Damien to like start stepping through as needed.
And Damien is responding very eagerly. You are both back to being aligned. And importantly, I believe, and let me know if I'm wrong here, Raph, but I believe this is the first time Damien is hunting for Carmen.
It is.
And-
Yeah.
And you realize as you're encouraging Damien to prepare for that despite the anger and the hurt that was there earlier, Damien is grateful for the opportunity to do something for you. Because he, despite your words earlier, despite you calling yourself selfish, you are the one encouraging him to do what he needs to do for himself and letting him feed when he needs to feed. And he's realizing that he's getting to, in a very different way than he used to be that older brother who can protect you and can do things for you. And he's missed that.
I definitely think Carmen is, in a very kind of fucked up way, feels very giddy, almost like that feeling of when he was younger and Damien was alive and they would get into their own little like brotherly hijinks, like sneaking down into the kitchen and like stealing snacks or like, I don't know, playing games and just always being together. And just feeling that rush again. It's different, but he's still there, and it feels right.
And you feel confident and safe, even though you know you're walking into a dangerous situation. You're not alone. And you're not alone in multiple respects. You have Damien with you. You have Octavia there. You perhaps will also have Rhiannon close to you soon enough. And it's that moment where Wynn flies down to help point you to the right window so you can get inside.
Thank you, Win. Honestly, this is a trial run, brother. If we can do this, we're unstoppable.
And
bird scritchies.
you hear Damien speak for the first time really since he closed you out. And it perhaps surprises you because so much has been focused on revenge and that being the primary priority. But what Damien says is, whatever happens, little brother, I'm going to make sure that you make it through. I'm not going to fail you again.
You've never failed me. You are the reason I exist. From before and now. I will take care of you. No matter what.
We will take care of each other.
We always have.
We always will.
Let's go kill this fucker.
And Damien doesn't say anything, but you get an enthusiastic response. And speaking of this fucker, Rhiannon, you get a knock on your bedroom door for the second time today.
I'm assuming she can't open it, so she's just like, yes.
And the door opens. The look in your father's eyes is almost wild. He does not present as his calm and composed self. It's not like when he's angry, but there is a frantic edge to his energy. And he says, Rhiannon, you have to make yourself presentable. You have 5 minutes. Why didn't you tell me about Lady Frostpin?
I didn't want to promise something until I had a guarantee. And it sounds like the lady has just brought you one.
Yes, if I had known, I would have been prepared for her arrival.
I did not realize she would be coming.
Rhiannon, this could change everything. This is what we've waited for. This is what you were allowed back out this season to provide.
Yes, with the Winter Court.
Precisely. The Lady Frostpin is here asking for your hand.
I'm so high. Rhiannon is just like pretending to be like shocked. It's just like I should get ready then.
Yes, I will send Noelle to make sure you are looking your best, as you should.
Of course, Father.
You have 5 minutes.
5 minutes, yes.
And he does shut the door behind him. But a few, not even minutes, because that would not give you much time to make yourself presentable, within about 60 seconds, Noelle walks in, and you realize in that moment that Noelle must have something on her that allows her to pass through. Because your father is not there to unlock and open the door. And she was the one person who was allowed to enter your room during those long, long months of isolation. But she comes in and starts to gather what is needed to help cover up the bruises and scrapes and otherwise help you to be in a less disheveled state.
And Rhiannon was already like getting ready, even though she's just like, this is gonna probably make things more difficult, but you know what? We're committing to the bit. I think once she is ready, she just kind of leans over to Noelle and says, whatever my father gave you that lets you pass in and out of this room, did he give you one to give to me too to let me out?
And Noelle shakes her head and says, no, Lady Carewood, it is for me to escort you.
Thank you, Noelle.
And back downstairs, well, Rhiannon
Can I try to
is
pick it off of her as she escorts me through the halls? Just as a precaution.
110%.
I don't know what that would be.
You know what? Roll with dark.
Okay. Okay, yeah. That's a 10.
Incredible. And so, yes, as you are walking, Rhiannon, what you notice is that you know your father's magic very well. And you put the pieces together as you step out. In fact, Noelle makes it pretty easy for you now that you're looking for it because it is on the key to your room.
Hmm.
And so you clock that as soon as Noelle unlocks the door. And as you are walking, you are able to kind of use your magic to help nudge it right off of her keyring.
Nice. Just like how I got Abigail's fan that one time.
And so, Octavia, you have been alone for a few moments before Duke Carewood returns. He does not have that frantic energy that Rhiannon was seeing. He is looking a bit more put together at that point and says, Lady Rhiannon will be down momentarily.
Excellent. I'd quite enjoy to get things underway. The room is noticeably colder, and continuing to drop as she sort of mills about the parlor, looking at the stuff on the walls. You have a very lovely home, Duke.
Thank you for that, Lady Frostpin. We are certainly grateful for what we do have and proud of what we do have.
Yes, Rhiannon is quite the person. You must be extremely proud.
We are certainly proud of their magical aptitude.
Oh, what a day!
Duke.
What a lovely day!
Hello, Raiders. Welcome.
Oh my
We
goodness.
are about to
We're about
attempt
to-
an assassination attempt on
We're making daddy stew.
All right.
That is a much straightforward way to put this.
with that
Thank you,
one.
Raph.
Lord.
But yes,
Good help.
welcome. Enjoy. Stay if you would like to see what chaos these three are creating as we move through tonight's episode.
God.
Oh,
So scared.
Yeah, I think Octavia is mostly stalling before Rhiannon gets here. Because she's got something to stall with until between Rhiannon's arrival and Carmen's. That she's very much looking forward to. With the whole contract debacle. And we'll just sort of turn to him. I was upset to hear that Lady Carewood and my cousin would not be wed after the incident last season. But I trust you only had the best intention with that.
That was not a contract that we had hoped would end the way it did. We have worked hard to rebuild our relationship with the Winter Court. And your appearance here tonight speaks to that, I am sure.
Yes. The Winter Court is turning over a new leaf, as it were.
I am glad to hear it. I am certain it will be in the best interest of the future of the court and the alliances that are formed.
Yes. Especially an alliance I intend to form tonight. Speaking of, where is Lady Carewood? I hope soon.
And I will say that is just about the moment when there is a knock on the door and Rhiannon enters.
And Rhiannon, of course, curtsies, says, Lady Frostpin, what a delightful surprise.
A surprise indeed. Duke Carewood. Now that Lady Rhiannon is here, I can begin to discuss what I expect of our union.
I am ready to hear the terms.
Perfect. That contract that had previously fallen through between my cousin and your noble house put you in quite the precarious position, didn't it?
And he looks surprised, perhaps a bit confused, with just a touch of concern that you might know those details, and says, well, that contract was one that myself and the Winter Court took our time in negotiating.
Yes, and negotiate you did, without any input from the Prince or Lady Carewood. Isn't that correct?
One of those is correct.
Ah. So the Prince had involvement in your negotiations with my court.
Of course.
Now, would you mind explaining to me, because I'm new to the season after all and new to the taunt, what business did your name have being on that contract?
Lady Frostpin, with all due respect, I am not sure what bearing this has on the
Duke
contract.
Carewood, with all due respect, I am talking. You were going to sign your daughter's powers away to Prince Reynard, so that you could claim to have a son you would be proud of. And you spent the remainder of that time breaking a contract with the Winter Court, a crime, I should warn you, is very punishable by what's about to happen to you. And still you had the gall to lock your daughter away and only yielded when you thought maybe you could salvage what little power you had hoped to scrape back.
And what I am going to say, Octavia, is as you are speaking, that is when the door that you ran in left just the slightest bit ajar opens. Let Carmen step inside.
And clocking the door staying open, Octavia had spent the time freezing through the Duke's feet as to prevent him from backing away, and has pulled her sword out and puts it forward as to both stab him and shove him in Carmen's direction.
Incredible. Octavia, I would like you to lash out physically. Roll with volatile.
How many hit points does he have?
Ooh. That is a 6 and a 5. -1 for volatile is going to be a 10.
The dice said kills him down.
Incredible. Incredible, Octavia.
Octavia is rolling hot.
Oh my god, Octavia!
Yeah, oh my
I can't
God.
believe it.
And so I just want to know, I think I know the answer, but are you putting any of the potential harm that you could add into this, or are you saving that all for Carmen?
The way that I'm envisioning it is, yeah, obviously a sword wound is technically harm, but her intent with the way that she understands how Carmen and Damien work is simply to weaken him and put that harm to Damien's little tryst out in the open.
And so with that, Octavia, you intentionally do not inflict a mortal wound. But what it does do is cause enough damage that Duke Carewood, who has been staring at you in absolute shock, initially anger, then a bit of not quite fear as you continued, though that started to build. And it wasn't until the sword was brought out and you lashed out with it that the look shifted from anger to outright fear. And he doubles over as you stab him and then drops to his knees with a gasp. What, if anything, would you like to add to the mix, Rhiannon, before Carmen allows Damien to feed?
I think rather than Rhiannon just kind of steps closer and looks down at her father, and there are tears in her eyes, but her face is a mixture of hurt, but more of an anger. And she looks down at her father and she says, "The thing with gardens, father, is one must tend to them with care. If you don't, the plants grow wild and tangle with others until they cannot become what you wanted them to be. Perhaps in this moment, you may want to reflect on the lack of care you showed to me, because I have found it elsewhere.
And he looks up at you, Rhiannon, and it's heartbreaking for you because his face is just filled with fury. There is no regret. There is no remorse. There is just anger. And I would imagine all he really has the chance to say is to call you ungrateful before whatever happens next happens.
I think Carmen comes up behind the Duke. I think even before Rhiannon is speaking, Damien has already started feeding because now he feeds on fear as well.
Oh.
Which is probably why he had gotten weaker and weaker even as Rhiannon was speaking with him. And I think Carmen just comes up right behind him, lets out a breath, and completely swings the door open for Damien. His eye goes black, and I think he just like grabs onto, almost like hiding the Duke's entire body, like engulfing him with his entire body, before he can finish whatever it is he was going to say. And I think he's kind of whispering, like, I advise you to look away. And then just like absolutely engulfs him entirely. I'm not gonna make it really gory or anything, but yeah.
Closed casket.
Closed casket.
Fuck a casket. She's ashes. We're not having a gravestone.
Toss that bitch in a hole and forget.
Dust in the wind, baby.
And Octavia, I want to ask you, as Damien is feeding, and it is wholeheartedly the most violent way Damien has ever fed. It's hard to know whether this is all of the anger that has built up or whether this is Carmen's love for Rhiannon coming out in this act of violence against someone who has hurt them so badly. But either way, those are likely both factors, as Damien, who usually leaves people not intact, but able to have some sort of life, is not giving your father that option. I wonder, Octavia, how you see the magic of the broken contract manifesting in this punishment as well.
I think when Fae are in the know of a contract that is particularly Fae bound, when they're focusing on it, they can see sort of threads between the contracteurs, and in this case sees a very thick thread between Rhiannon and the Duke. But as Damien sort of goes to finish him off, it just very silently snaps, and the light sort of fades from her eyes as she no longer has to absolve that contract.
And Rhiannon,
Yeah.
I am going to say, well, this is not necessarily in line with the exact rules of Monsterhearts. And so if it does not feel right for you, we will not do this. But what I am thinking is in that moment when that thread snaps, and in seeing these two people, one of whom you have been building a relationship with, one of whom you were afraid you could never have a relationship with. But as you realize both of them have been here with you in this moment, I believe that pulls you out of darkest self. But what is key here is that when you feel yourself step out of that access to the power that you felt there, that stays. And you realize in that moment that part of what kept you restricted from that was your father.
Oh shit!
Ah!
Bitch!
Fucking bitch.
My god, he was the worst.
First time you said was. Wow.
Yeah. Was moment.
Oh my
Can I
god.
get a was in the chat, please?
I think Rihanna is just kind of like she has been so focused on just watching this because she has not looked away while Carmen and Damien do their thing. If it gets messy, she does not step back. Because I'm assuming it does. She just watches. And just feeling that thread snap and feeling like she is finally able to like rein herself in, but doesn't feel the disconnect, just kind of has a moment of, huh, he was keeping me caged longer than I thought.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Octavia. Of course you have my support, but it just, I don't.
Let me handle the formalities regarding your ascension to head of house. This was a Winter Court noble's absolution of a broken contract, a punishment that was due for someone eventually. And given the sway I intend to hold with the palace very shortly, that shouldn't be a problem, which means your support is all but legitimate.
I was going to call in my favor on this, but if you are offering, I will not say no.
Neither of you have to spend your favors on my suicide mission. I'd like to make that very clear. Mr. Deloso? Mr. Deloso?
Yes.
Okay, first one. Good.
It doesn't feel like it's enough to repay you for what you've done. I've never felt so weightless before. Which may be a bit silly to say because a title comes with so many responsibilities, and so many choices to make and maneuvers that are not free of consequences. But I just feel like there's so much more out there and in me than I ever really was allowed to have before.
Your father, he wanted a son.
Yes.
He had a star. And he locked it up. now you're able to shine.
Rhiannon does just kind of start crying a bit at that.
Are you two going to kiss again?
Absolutely.
I was just gonna ask for a hug if that was
God.
all right, because I know the situation with you
Oh,
and your
yeah.
brother is complicated. Oh, and that, I suppose. I
Also,
should have
yeah.
thought of that first. Oh,
Messy.
a hug would be nice if your brother won't be.
You didn't try to eat me.
And if Karma doesn't object, she just embraces him.
Yeah. I think he just has her back.
Carmen, I think in this moment, the choice is ultimately yours, but that that act of taking vengeance against Rhiannon's father has brought you and Damien closer together, and not in a way that feels precarious or dangerous, at least in this moment. It feels like if you were to kiss Rhiannon, you would not have to worry about Damien feeding on her. There's almost this recognition where, well, you can't say it is absolute. Damien wants to have the self-control for you to have what you need. Because so often you've had to stop yourself from that. And you know, he knows as well that the control will slip, but in this moment, he wants to give you this. And I think in a very different way than how strings are usually spent, he is going to spend one of his strings to give you this.
No.
Emotional rant.
That's so sweet.
Emotional
My
damage.
God.
Emotional damage.
Oh, okay.
Oh God.
Yeah, I think Carmen walks up to Rhiannon and just says, if you don't mind a bit of mess.
I don't, honestly. And maybe I should, but I really don't.
That's blood on his lips.
Does not listen to that. And just
I'll be-
holds Rhiannon's face and kisses her.
And she kisses him back, chastely.
Octavia steps out. This is the first time she's been in a situation where she could walk away
She
from
can leave.
this.
Just because Carmen's just like, I should probably send for the seneschal to explain this. I know Octavia is going to handle the complicated
Oh.
parts, but
I'm going to the palace right now.
should we go with you then?
Yeah. Don't see why not.
Well, we should get clean. Oh, but I can't.
Just dip that one in the fountain and we'll be good. We'll be fine.
There's
I
no one
don't-
to stop you.
Oh, we should lock the office so no one can come in. I don't want to give one of the
is Noelle
servants
still
a fright.
around?
Noella is gone, as you had asked for all of the servants to leave, so...
Yeah.
Oh, they're not here.
But I will say your father is on the floor, and he has the key ring to every room in this house.
I mean,
on
I'm
his
sure
person.
the housekeeper does too, unless his office is just separate.
But you can obtain the keys right here to
Yes.
lock it up.
Yep.
And nobody is currently in the house. He sent them away for the evening.
I realize now you're asking because there's a body in here. And I
Yes.
thought it was you were afraid someone was going to steal something or burgle your house.
I've never been. No, dear. No, I've not. I don't care right now if someone could break in. That was the body, yes.
They would be in
Right.
for a surprise.
That would
I don't
be...
think they would take anything.
No, I think they don't. The only thing they would take is nightmares. Hmm.
And so,
Roll them up in the rug.
Just
We can just bring it to the
tidy it up a
palace.
little bit, just like
Seneschal, we brought corpse.
the three,
like a cat bringing a dead bird to just 3 cats with a mangled bird. Here you are, Julius. And he
Behold,
regrets.
justice in a roll.
Julius regrets ever speaking to us.
he's been regretting that for a while. He's
Oh,
really
yes,
going
but
to
it's
regret
gonna
it.
keep going. But we're
And-
nobility. You're always gonna have to deal with this, Julius. Always, especially me now.
And so at least the 2 of you get the room somewhat squared away, lock it up with your father's keyring, and it sounds like start to make your way to the palace after cleaning yourselves up a bit as much as you can.
And I think before they leave, Rhiannon will say to Carmen, your brother's still in my closet. I think it should be safe there.
It's your house.
Yes, and there's no threat in it anymore.
We will come back.
It
to
is my house. Oh wow.
It doesn't have to be. I can burn it if you'd like.
No,
we
no,
can, run away. We don't have to do this
it's
life
fine.
if you don't want
It's
to.
fine. It's fine. You've done more than enough, Carmen. You've done
I
so much.
promise you, I am still so deeply in debt to you.
I think I feel I'm. Perhaps our debts should just cancel each other out then, with how I feel. I owe you so much right now.
Perhaps we should be indebted forever.
It does sound lovely when it's you.
Carmen,
Kind of wipes a piece of blood that
In front
missed.
of a fay.
you do hear
Yes.
Damien's voice, and
No.
he sounds the most like your brother that you have heard him sound this far, because he just says, "Well, little brother, are you going to make it official?"
Damien.
Damien, we just murdered someone.
Let's right every wrong first. We'll celebrate together.
And with that,
You already have my ring anyway, so.
Oh. I mean, she would have offered it back to you after she did the spell.
and so the 3 of you make your way to the palace late at night.
Mhm.
Thankfully, slightly less blood covered than you were a few moments ago. Rhiannon, as you step out, there is just the briefest moment where you think about the comments about the box, and you realize with the access to power that you now feel, it would be so easy to put a protective ward on your door, but like you said before, you don't need to. The danger is gone, and you feel that strongly. You feel confident as you step out that that peace, at least, is no longer a factor, that when you do return home later, it will be the first time you're not dreading stepping into this house.
I think as they leave and Wynn momentarily lights on her shoulder, she just gives little scritches like, you did so good. I'm going to make you the most beautiful aviary you've ever seen.
And as the 3 of you are heading towards the palace, Octavia with a very clear plan in mind. The other two, certainly with things you will be asking for. The camera pans back, and we realize it is just the three of you. Yet, four of you are owed those favors. And in that moment, I'm curious, Octavia, are you thinking of asking Abigail to travel with you?
Is she on the way?
I'm more curious if you stop by the Donatelli residence before making your way to the palace.
Octavia made up this plan 24 hours ago, but I think she does have at least the minimal amount of prescience to understand that she owes Abigail one big time, and thinks that Abigail might be interested in participating in this sort of endeavor,
Cool.
and so will gesture for them to sort of recourse towards the Donatellis.
Miguel is going to never believe this, but I can't wait to see her face when we tell her.
And so the three of you walk up to the Donatelli residence and knock on the door, and it surprises you because Abraham is the one who opens the door, and it's fast. Like, you knock, and I'm not even sure you managed to knock twice before the door is opening, and he is standing there. And Abraham is someone who is always very well pulled together, and who most of the time hides his demonic nature. But right now, his eyes are glowing coals. And you, Rhiannon, can feel just the aura like pulsing off of him. You, Octavia, can feel the heat. And you, Carmen, are disconcertingly reminded of what it feels like to come into contact with someone who has a connection with one version, at least, of the afterlife.
Twinkle.
And he looks at the three of you and looks disappointed, like you are not the person or people he was hoping to see. And he seems a bit lost for words, which is also not like him. But he does manage to at least pull himself together in that way, and does not have any pretenses of politeness as he asks, "What are the three of you doing here?"
Is Lady Donatelli around?
Miss
She's not a lady.
She's fond of telling us.
Whatever.
No, Miss Donatelli is not here.
It's quite an urgent matter. Do you know where
Like-
she is?
Right now, finding my daughter is an urgent matter because she has been taken by the de Villiers. And that is where we are going to end tonight's session.
Best roasting no! She gonna be so mad she got nabbed. Oh my god, the insult. Oh Oh my god.
I'm going to kill Fitz. I
Amazing.
Well, that was a
Wow.
wild ride, everyone.
That
I
was,
didn't expect
that was something.
Fitz,
We didn't
fix your family, damn! They didn't learn.
My God.
They gonna learn now. She's
Yeah, we
gonna
didn't
make
get to hear Octavia's letters even. It's
we
too chaotic.
didn't. We
I can
didn't.
read them real
Octavia
quick.
had so many
Just
maneuvers.
hold on. Let me pull them up real quick.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
read them.
A little
as an
closing
encore
credits.
for
Little
Kit.
Yes.
A little,
Kit said encore in the
a little
chat.
PS for those who stuck around.
PS for Octavia. The first one, and one that she destroyed before the events of this session. If we had done, the letter order. The letter rests on Octavia's windowsill, held in place by a small stone and a black feather. It is sealed in green wax with the Carewood crest. Dear Miss Frostpin, should you require a witness to attest that you were not in the room when your cousin's murderer was revealed, you only have to ask. While King Laszlo and King Guinevere may not hold me in esteem, I have never lied to them. Perhaps that will count for something. It was particularly cruel of him to set such a task at your feet. You deserved better consideration. Do keep that in mind. Regards, Lady Carewood. And Octavia had destroyed that one because, again, she did not want any evidence of anyone else's involvement. The second letter is Octavia's least favorite thing she's ever read. Hand delivered by her new best friend, Joe of the stables, from Elise Clarendon. Dearest Lady Frostpin, I must confess I have begun this letter more times than I care to admit. Your candid is a welcome relief. I only hope I do not press your hand to too much of it. Decorum has its talons in all things, but I appreciate that you allow our friendship to be a reprieve of sorts. I have considered your letter and my response for quite some time. I find you neither too bold nor too proper. As in all things I have seen in you, your request comes with a balance of grace I could only hope to accomplish myself. Like your frost, the pattern of which has found its place to inspire me in the studio, your letter has served as inspiration as well. You inspire that balance and abundance of emotion, but perhaps most importantly, you've inspired that I decide my intent for the season. I find myself all but reactionary, buffeted by the whims of those who wish to take hold of my puppet strings for their own amusement. Very few individuals can I trust with my own wishes, and I count you amongst the rarities. I only wish that I had been lie ever to send my response earlier. Clearly, our situations have been changed for us, and while it pains me greatly to put it to words lest it gain reality, our ties to our courts demand delicacy. Your friendship has brought me great peace, and I cannot find it in me to put that at risk, to put you at risk for anything. Perhaps one day I will not need to in order to accept your affections. I pray that day soon comes. But even if it never does, you must know that I will always remain your friend, Octavia. And while that comes with many boons, it also comes with responsibility, to the both of us, to our safety. I cannot ask that you hold your affections until a safer time. All I ask is that you not resent me the distance I am made to keep for the moment. It is not my choice to make, and hardly an easy one. I look forward to a time when we can act more freely. When I am able, you will be amongst the first to know. Yours always, in some measure, Elise.
Oh, Octavia.
And that is not her least favorite thing because she was, in effect, rejected for the most part. It is her least favorite because she worries that Elise is being kept from things that she desires.
She's so selfless.
But those are the two letters I got it.
Oh, Octavia.
And now she's trying to overthrow her court, so...
Sure, yeah, why
fucking
not?
Duties to the
No.
courts, right?
This has taken such wild directions. You're right, we didn't get to the ritual tonight. You're not wrong.
No, I guess
Um,
Abigail gets to be there for it after all. I'm sure that will make it go smoothly.
And so with that, everyone, I'm thinking it's time to do our outros.
Yeah.
So
Surely we can go for two more.
you were all absolutely incredible tonight.
We're good
It
too.
was an honor to be your GM. And so
I know. Yeah.
No,
remind
you.
Yes, no,
everyone how wonderful you are and all of the other amazing things that they can find you in, starting with Steph.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I've been Rhiannon, the Duchess of Carewood now.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, she loves that. So good. No longer darkest self, for better or for worse. You can find me at Espon Writes on Twitter or under the handle Lavenza, lurking in the Live from the Apocalypse Discord. You can also catch me next week in JD's psychological horror game Redacted. See what's going on in that island with some murders. It's gonna be a really good time, and maybe a couple other things in the future. Just hang around and see what's up.
Hello, I'm JT. You can find me at WeebGeet on Twitter. You can find me lurking around LFTA sometimes, but you can most often find me on the Lost Caravan, hanging out with several awesome people there. Next Tuesday on Lost Caravan, JD and I will be participating in our Nova mini campaign over there. We're currently marching to our deaths, and we're still arguing, which makes us a great team. After that, you can find me back here eventually in 2 weeks for our final episode with the wonderful and amazing and absolute bafflingly creative JD at the helm here. Also, obviously, come back next week for the other table, which has Lady Elise, as mentioned, Fitz, as also mentioned and threatened, and Dorian and Abigail eventually.
It's going to be a wild time.
It's going to be a wild time, and I'm in a bunch of other stuff next month. The only thing I can truly announce is that the Lost Caravan has a little chaos crew. I have taken a chunk of us, and we are running Triangle Agency next month on the 22nd.
Incredible. I'm excited to see that.
It's very fun. It's going to be a great time.
Last but not least, Raph.
I was desperately trying to come up with a last but not eat or something, but nothing's coming to me. I'm so sorry.
Last but not feast.
There you go. Thank you.
This is why gaming is a collaborative effort.
Yes.
Feast but not least.
Oh, yeah.
That's nothing. Anyway. Hello, I'm Surav. And I've been Carmen tonight. Yeah. Lots of emotions today. I will be back Wednesday for Founders Day, our Backwoods campaign run by the incredible Alex, aka Fitz, in Table 2. Also then back for Redacted on Thursday, also run by JD. So very excited for what horrors you put us through. I'm sure Sophie will be very excited for it. And then class reunion the Tuesday after. Wait, 2 Tuesdays after? I don't know anymore.
The Tuesday after. Yeah, not next Tuesday, but the next Tuesday.
Okay, yes, the Tuesday after class reunion. I play a big himbo boy. What else? Also with emotional damage. Yeah, JD, you're wonderful. This has been so amazing. Can't wait for the finale.
Can't believe we're heading into the finale.
After those extra episodes.
I'm afraid. I'm a fear.
And so I will now give a very brief overview so that everybody is not sitting here counting on their fingers how many games I'm in. That's going to happen anyways. I am, as mentioned, in the middle of a 14-day gaming streak. So this is 5 out of 14, I think, if I am doing the math. So you can find me tomorrow with RPGs Uncovered for Locus. You can find me back here for Academy H, which I am so excited for because it has been 2 months since I have played my Bone Magic Boy, and I am just really eager to be back and playing Kaz because I have missed him. Monday, I will be with Tales from the Table Studios for SCP. Tuesday, as JT said, I will be with the Lost Caravan for Nova. As Raph said, I will be back on Wednesday for Founders Day and Thursday to run Redacted. And then on Friday, because I can't schedule things in a normal way, I will be with Live from the Apocalypse all day because I will be in Thy Kingdom Come at 1 o'clock, our Urban Shadows game, where I play Saint Soren, who is perfectly well adjusted and has nothing wrong with him. And then I will be running Table 2 of A Season of Secrets and Shadows, where we will be perhaps rescuing Abigail, seeing how that goes. And that is all I have to go over, because otherwise we just start cycling through the games I'm already doing. But yes, as Raph said, I will also be back for class reunion the following Tuesday, where I play Hunter, who has feelings for Max and is trying to finally go on couples brunch with him if that ever happens.
Listen, that was semi-confirmed last episode. So
Semi, but we need to play it out. It needs
we
to
gotta
be
do
on
a
screen.
flashback or something.
Yes.
And I do have a few other things coming up in June and July. Some Wildcard Wednesday games that I will be a part of / running. And then Cold Iron, our Changeling game, will be premiering in July, where we are in Soviet Russia being changelings, dealing with a whole lot of things, including murder, and I'm sure that will be fine. We are all playing Absolute Angels, just so you know.
We
All
are.
Angels and Will.
All Angels and
Yeah.
Will.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
All Angels
Will
and
is the only
Will.
monster.
All Angels and a William.
Yes. And again, Will, who we were missing today.
I miss him.
We miss you.
Where,
We'll save you a
where
bowl
is
of
my
daddy
dotted
stew.
Thank you for your service,
Carmen carved out a
Abigail.
piece for her. Just a little chunk. Just
It's
for
a
her.
Jensen.
Just a little piece.
But as we went later than expected tonight, I will be bringing us to our thanks for watching screen, seeing if anybody is still awake for us to raid. So stay around if you're able. I will try to set that up in just a few moments. Thank you all who stayed and watched. Thank you to this amazing cast for being so incredible. And come back.
Thank yourself right now.
Thank yourself now.
Don't make me do that on live camera. Oh
Say
God.
thank you to myself for running a wonderful game.
Yes.
Thank
to
you
the
to
people.
myself for running a wonderful
That's
game.
right. That's right, because this is
Yes.
awesome.
We have truly won tonight.
We have.
I feel like I am being put on that, was it Game Changer or Make Some Noise, where she had to accept
where
the compliments.
Rebecca had to
Yeah.
listen while
That's
everyone
Game
gave her 15
Changer.
compliments. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like
Mhm.
that's what's happening here.
It
And
was the how many episode?
Yes. How many?
and it is midnight, so we do not have the capacity to do that right now. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being an amazing cast. And come back on Sunday if you are able, for us returning to our darling characters in Academy H, and listen to Academy H if you are not listening already.
Yeah, listening.
So
Bring
yes,
us the bone boy.
all of the bones.
Bones.
So many
All of
bones.
Add the
bones.
bone to the
These
bone
messy
broth, the daddy
teens.
stew.
We need a points button to give Kaz bones.
We really do, and I support that. So please, we're going to make that
going to
happen.
Will
Everyone, give Danny
tomorrow.
swords. Give Lyra, I don't know, stress balls. Like
Glass.
Yeah.
Shattered
Glass.
bottles.
Marbles,
give Victory
Marbles? Eggs?
likes,
Hugs.
and likes
And
on
likes.
social
Likes,
media.
Yes, that's true.
from Choir.
We need I'm writing my pitch to Will right now of all the buttons we need for Academy H.
Incredible. Yeah, we're gonna
Amazing.
get that going. So come back if you're able to for that. Catch up on the podcast. If you catch up on the podcast and you want to know what happened in podcasts that haven't been dropped yet, I'll give you the details because I want you to show up and be able to watch live. So just putting that out there. I'm always open
It's-
to doing that. I'm going to take us to thanks for watching, and we will call it a night. Say good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.